A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another book review. Now, this book that I'm going to talk about, you've heard people say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, you shouldn't judge a book by its title, these kinds of things. You absolutely fucking should. I don't care who you are. Judge a book by its cover, judge a book by its title. That's why this book that I'm going to talk about today initially caught my attention. The book I'm talking about today is called Clown in a Cornfield. Fantastic cover. You can't really see it there all that well. By Adam Cesare or Adam Cesare. I don't exactly know how you pronounce it. I apologize if I got it wrong. I'd never heard of this author before. He actually has quite a lot of novels written, primarily horror. And Clown in a Cornfield is kind of aimed at a teenage audience, a lot like the Christopher Pike books were back in the day, to a lesser extent, the Goosebumps novels by R.L. Stine. So you have a book aimed at teenagers called Clown in a Cornfield. However, if you look up here, we have an endorsement by Clive Barker, who writes, or who said, an author who knows how to make us afraid. Really? Clive Barker is going to endorse a book called Clown in a Cornfield, endorse an author who writes primarily horror for teenagers. How good can this book actually be? Well, I guess you'll find out in another episode of I'm not going to mince any words about this book. I'm going to let you know straight off the bat, I fucking love this novel. And I'm definitely going to be reading more of this author's work. He has actually quite a lot of books out there. As I said, primarily horror. Just such an entertaining novel, and yet also incredibly well written. He knows the genre. Not only does he know the genre, the literary horror genre, he knows the film, the horror film genre, because this book sets the beats up like you are reading a horror movie. Now, the book is set in the town of Kettle Springs, and it opens with a group of teenagers having a party at a quarry where there is kind of like a lake. And you get the idea that these teenagers, the main characters, are all kind of like internet social media influencer kind of things, where they film pranks that they do and all this kind of stuff. And ultimately what ends up happening, you have the main characters of Cole, Janet, Ronnie, and I want to say Mark or Matt. Hold on, you know what? I just finished this today and I can't even remember Matt. It's Matt. Mark or Matt, whatever. Interchangeable names. I don't really care. Anyway, you have these four main characters. Cole is the kind of like the wealthy kid in Kettle Springs. Kettle Springs is a corn farming kind of town, and Cole's family owns the big corn syrup factory that has closed down. And because it's closed down, no one really kind of harvests the corn anymore. So the town is in a bit of a state of disrepair at the beginning of the novel. And Cole has a sister called Victoria, who at the very beginning of the book is at this party and gets a little drunk and tries to do a stunt and ultimately ends up smashing her head on some rocks and dying. And then we move a year forward, where our main character Quinn has moved to Kettle Springs with her father. Her father is the new doctor of Kettle Springs, and Quinn and her father are recovering from the death of her mother. who tragically became addicted to drugs after an accident. She got addicted to painkillers, and that kind of spiraled out of control. And all of this kind of comes out in the novel. But then you get Quinn, and you have her father. So they have just moved to Kettle Springs, and you realize that Kettle Springs kind of is this town built around this factory for this corn syrup factory. This corn syrup factory has this mascot called Friendo the Clown. And what has ultimately happened very close to when Quinn and her father have moved to the town is that Cole has gotten drunk after the death of his sister. He kind of has slipped into, the dealing with grief through alcohol kind of a thing. And he has burnt the factory down. Even though the factory wasn't actually making corn syrup at the time, it had been closed down. He burnt to the ground, and so this has kind of pissed off the sheriff, his father, and a lot of the adults in town, a lot of the teachers and things like that, that believe that these kind of kids are just running wild in the town, and because of them, the town kind of founder, Cole's father, is withdrawing money from the town, and there's a whole big kind of pseudo-political issue there. The mayor is kind of involved in all this kind of thing. Quinn is introduced to the cast of characters. There is a boy, Rustin, who is actually her neighbor that she meets very early on when she moves into town. Rustin used to be Cole's best friend growing up, but they've actually kind of drifted apart because Cole is always like the rich kid that everyone wants to kind of be with. So she meets all these characters. Ultimately, she meets Cole, Janet, Matt, Ronnie after they're all kicked out of class because the science teacher, Mr. Verne, kind of goes apeshit over their phone use and pranking and all of this kind of a thing. And that's how she kind of gets caught up in that circle. Now, the main crux of this story is about like Founders Day festival where people come out to celebrate the founding of the town. These kids pull a prank that goes wrong, and ultimately what happens is that the kids have already decided to have their own Founders Day party the next night in a cornfield because the farm, the owners of the farm where the cornfield and barn is in, have gone away for the weekend, and so these kids are kind of taking over to have a party. And the adults in town kind of have a town meeting to discuss what to do about these problem children. And at that town meeting, and this happens about a third of the way into the book. It does a good job of setting up the story. The mayor is murdered, but nobody knows that the mayor has been murdered. The mayor is murdered by someone dressed up as Friendo the Clown, the mascot of the Cole family, or the Hill family. Cole Hill is in the Hill family kind of corn syrup fortune. At this party, there's also a character called Tucker as well, who's like Cole's best friend, but he doesn't appear for very long in the book. If you understand the horror genre, hint, hint, he fucking dies. So at this party, someone dressed up like Friendo the Clown starts killing kids, and then everything spirals out of control. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form going to spoil this book for you. I'm going to fucking urge you to read this book if you can. It is a horror movie in a novel. But I will tell you this. What starts out as a slasher film, so to speak, turns very quickly into something else. And ultimately, the more you keep reading, the payoff is fucking phenomenal. It is so good. I would easily put this book in my top 5 horror novels. I have yet to read anything else by this author. This is enough for me to sell me on this guy. Just like Stephen King's worst book, voted by a lot of people, Tommyknockers, sold me on Stephen King. Clown in a Cornfield is a fantastic read. The characters are well fleshed out. All of them are well fleshed out. There are at least 3 different twists in this book that you don't really see coming, although once you read the twist, you will kick yourself for not seeing it coming. You're like, I should have fucking known that. Brilliantly written. His grasp of horror novel conventions, but horror film conventions as well, is something that I have yet to see in another modern author. And we can talk about horror novels from the 70s, 80s, heck, even the 90s, till the cows come home. I have my favorite authors. I mean, Stephen King, of course, Richard Lehman. I'm going to chuck Dean Koontz in there, even though a lot of people call Dean Koontz a poor man's Stephen King. Fuck those people. Dean Koontz is a great author in his own right. James Herbert. You can see just here, I have the Rats trilogy that I want to get around to reviewing. I have been reading horror since Whitley Strieber in the 6th grade. My copy of The Night Church got confiscated by my 6th grade teacher. Rather funny aside anecdote. The teacher wanted a book to read to the class after lunch, kind of like where we kind of sit at our desks and the teacher would read something. And my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Gardner, fantastic 6th grade teacher, one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life. Sadly, he's passed away now, but what an amazing teacher. I knew that I was an avid reader. His wife would often get books that were recommended for school libraries, and he would give me a copy to read and give his judgments on. That's how I read Victor Kelleher's The Red King. He took the book out of my desk one lunchtime just to see, what Hugh's reading. And the prologue of The Night Church is a woman being raped by a satanic cult. Didn't go down well with him, and my parents were called to the school. It was not a fun time for everyone. I love horror. I've read horror for many years. I like to think I know horror. Balls to the wall horror. You are not going to be disappointed with Clown in a Cornfield. And I believe there is a sequel to this book coming out in August, which I really cannot fucking wait for. I will be looking more into Adam Cesare, however you pronounce the name. I'll be looking more into his work. I cannot wait to read more of his work. But until then, this gets my top 5 horror novels. Clown in a Cornfield, absolutely fantastic. You will not be disappointed. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment in the description below about your favorite horror novels or any horror novels you think I would like to read and review on the channel. I understand that this video is not going to get a lot of views. It's not a Final Girl video. Who am I fucking kidding? But I still like bringing you my thoughts, my feelings on books. There are a lot of fantastic book review channels out there. I am not up to that level yet, but I do like talking about the things that I read. And I've started reading more books that I'd like to talk about on this channel. So there you go. Follow us at plaguelandsmedia.com, Facebook. You can check out our ebooks on Amazon Kindle. Look for Ian Van Gammon or Hugh Newton, or just, follow the link at the end of this video. Please, everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next time, stay safe and go read a fucking book, people.